Boy.
Oh.
Hello, everyone. Give me 1 second here because I got one other little thing to do, and there we are. So, hello, everybody. How you doing? Caught you off guard because we were
Yeah.
off guard talking, but
Yeah.
we enjoy it. So, favor to everybody. Thank you, moderators. Thank you for everyone that's joining us. I can assure you this is going to be a most delightful mind coitus time. So, this is a second look, and there is my co-host, Miss Trina. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Wayne?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just in a really good place to be. I mean, I don't know about you, but 2020 is just a freaking, every day it just keeps getting better.
It feels very powerful, and it feels like, for me, it feels like all the things I've been working on for a while are starting to manifest like full blown.
Yeah, yeah. And I still say this. I'll give a shout out to Heidi Vandenberg. I mean, I think it was 3 years ago. She did a whole chart on me. And everything that woman said is spot on. I mean, that it's anywhere. So you're doing good then.
I am. Yeah.
So what's happening in your life, my dear?
Just work is good. Balancing all of that out. I mean, it's just, it was a long journey to get where I'm at. So it feels really good to be here.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes, I'm embracing the now.
And I think that sets up what we would call a reciprocating effect is so often, and I know I was just thinking about prior when we went live that there with Lynn and I, there were some years that were just really tough. I mean, and it's amazing. And what I'm trying to get to is that when you embrace the space you're in, whether it's good, whether it's bad, it still gives the opportunity for you to become reciprocated to what you want to be or what you want your surroundings to be. Yes. Speaking by that, you said you are living the manifestation of what your desires were.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have manifested so many things in my life. And then those, I've been on my channel talking about how we get these initiations, and oh man, they bring you to your knees. And everybody's like, I want to ascend, I want to get to mastery. It's like, are you sure?
I don't think so. And what a perfect segue. Thank you, Trina. And she didn't even know she did this, folks. But Friday night, folks, I want to bring up his book again so you all can see it. You do not want to miss this interview. Trina, I am about over halfway through with the book now. And, whoa, mind totally blown. What this couple experienced in what we would call UFOlogy, what we would call the paranormal, the spirits, so to speak, it's amazing. I'm telling you, this is probably one of the most exciting anticipation of an event for this channel. It's incredible. And girl, it's right next door to you.
I know that I'm telling you, this is some powerful area that I'm in, Arizona.
I would say.
And I'm telling you, it's all desert here. It's got super, super strong Ma'at and Isis energy. And there's pyramids all over the valley. And nature doesn't make pyramids. There's pyramids scattered all over the valley. I have a feeling this might be what they spoke of as ancient Phoenicia.
Well, John gets into the history. He actually did a study because, his ranch exceeds Skinwalker Ranch. What's happening to him and what his wife has gone through, it's brought me into a new place. And the point that he was pointing out, that area goes back tens of thousands of years. It's a strong place. I mean,
you can feel it when you drive through Arizona. You can feel the energy of the state. It's got a very powerful frequency, and we've got a lot of sunshine. So
yeah, yeah. You
yeah,
know, and in fact, I have a graph I'll show here in a little bit that the ley lines
yes.
come perfectly into that region of the country.
They say it's the head of the dove. So
mm,
there's like, yeah, they're saying it's like the crown of the dove. It's they show the, you know, the dove and the eagle, you know, the father, mother over the whole continent of the world and the chakra systems. And they say Phoenix is in the head.
the other thing I found really interesting, by the way, David and Al, yeah, we're good for afterwards. So the thing that John has discovered, and he's lived there for 2.5 decades, um, they have tortured him and his wife. All I know is this. See,
I
the
know,
dogs are picking up.
right? She's
In
like,
fact,
that's not nice.
the thing I'm getting is that they're, yeah, I mean, we're talking leaving scars on their body.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm coming to understand is that we have the Steven Spielberg image of ET.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that that's correct. There may be something out there that might be friendly, but all the evidence shows that these ETs they are the demons.
Yeah, well, the dark ones are going to leave marks and scars because they're doing bad things, but the good ones, you're not going to have any evidence of it, because if any evidence, it would be healing. So it
Yeah,
goes
and
both ways.
I haven't seen an ET who's doing that yet.
I have known people who have claimed to be taken aboard ships, and they've come back with memories and they were completely healed of their illnesses.
They should come out more, because everything that John has experienced with his wife, where abduction is concerned, and I don't know, Trina, the thousands and thousands of stories.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think there's way more bad than good.
Yeah.
Way more, way more. Because there's something about, you know, us as a food source. And
well, that's very interesting, because number one, it's forcible rape.
yes.
Every one of these abductees have been raped.
Yep.
I find that very interesting. And two, in fact, I'll give you a quote right out of John's books. He says this about humans: we are part of an ecosystem that we have no idea about. Yep. He states in his findings, and again, I know folks we're talking a lot about, but this is an interesting story, to say the least, that he has discovered that these ETs, now, whether they're extraterrestrial or interterrestrial, I think that may be another deception. I don't think they're from out there. I think they're from inside.
Or they're original owners of the planet.
Yeah, and apparently the way that these things travel, they use our state of unconsciousness when we sleep. The interesting thing about planet Earth is that all the living things here must sleep. Think about that.
That is, I know, it's so interesting to me. I've wondered that. I'm like, we all have to sleep.
Why?
Right.
Now,
it's like without it, we can't function. It's like it's some type of a recharging system.
How about maybe a feeding system, not a recharging?
Could be.
A direct feeding system.
Yeah, could be.
When humans are asleep, as animals and even plants, we go into a state of what we call different sleep states, where the peak of the sleep is REM sleep, rapid eye movement. The brain is putting out increased brain signals, which John concludes is a feeding trough for another species that feeds on our unconsciousness.
I wonder if that's the loosh they speak about.
I don't know.
Because I know they get it from like trauma. You know, they get it from sexual trauma and trauma. And then I wonder if another way they get it from us is when we sleep. That's interesting.
It's I had never even considered that.
I've seen people. I actually physically saw this one time. I had somebody close to me who was getting attacked and they couldn't see what was attacking them.
Mm-hmm.
They literally had to go to the hospital and get like 34 stitches. I mean, this was serious stuff. And I was like, so I went and stayed at the house, and she was sleeping and the bedroom door was open. And I walked down the hallway because my radar just went off. And I walked down the hallway and I looked and I saw this thing over her. And it was like, it looked human, blue jeans, black hair. And then I was like, when I saw it, I was like, hey. And it turned like stunned that I could see it. And I was like, what are you doing? Because it looked like it was feeding on her. And I was like, that was what it felt like, was vampiric energy. I was like, hey, what are you doing to her? And it like was like, and it was the most beautiful, good looking man. Oh my God, this thing was beautiful. Blue eyes, black hair, blue jeans, just gorgeous. And I was like, my radar went off again. And I was like, what is your true form? And it turned into a vampire right in front of me. And I was like, you better leave now. And it laughed at me and it blew up a candle in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
it went, yeah. But I saw this thing feeding, literally feeding. While she
I
was,
believe that.
yeah. So I know that there's something to that. You're something to that.
And here's the other thing. I'm the takeaway. I mean, I've got these notes, and so, and I've done videos on this. I've taught on this. The human reality is limited by all scientific definition, all spiritual definition, to the experience of what we can actually feel, see, touch, smell, etc.
What can you perceive?
What do you perceive? And that goes to hearing. It also extends to sight.
Yes.
The fact is, the human brain, the human ability for hearing, the human ability for seeing is 1% of each spectrum. If you were to listen to the audio spectrum, your two dogs, they hear at a greater sensitivity.
Yes.
All right. So consider this, folks. You got 1% now that you've based all your knowledge, all your religion, all your beliefs on. Now you're going to go to sight, because this plays, and don't try to argue with me philosophically, because here's the point. What our reality is what we see. Mm-hmm. It is. Mm-hmm. John pointed out in his book, again, we only see 1% of the light spectrum.
Yep.
So imagine what you saw, Trina, was that there are giftings, and when people begin to see beyond the normal spectrum, guess what they see? Energy. They see beings.
Yes, energy.
They see the demons. They see the angels. They see beings.
Yes. Like I said, the gift of sight. Everybody's like, oh, I want to be this. I'm like, are you sure? You know?
Exactly. It's like,
are you sure about that?
You really want to do this? It's so interesting because it means we're kind of like walking in a bowl of Jell-O. Mm-hmm. We think that somehow or another that it's just us. But what we're not understanding, the Jell-O is actually the true reality of all living forces.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was 10 years old and my dead babysitter was standing in my hallway, I was like, okay, if he's here, that means there must be others too. You know, I've kind of gotten awareness of that very young. They're everywhere, all around.
I see dead people.
Yeah, that's what.
Did you see the movie?
Yeah, he could see them all.
He could see them all, and I guess that, you know, I see dead people. It's odd because I'm reading this last night, you know, and I mean, I have this energy and it's a buzzing, and I've had two things happen since we last met. I'll tell you about. But then I began to think about, all right, so they're already here. Poltergeist, whether they be good, bad spirits, they're just coexisting in a realm that we can't understand.
That we can't perceive.
Yes, perceive. Exactly. Thank you, madam.
You just can't see, because sometimes you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it drive you crazy if most time people do.
Yes, it's about perception. And most of us, like I said, most people do not want to see these things. So they never will, because they're like, oh, I don't think so. So, yeah. So
as you were talking,
not many who want to even see these. And then some people were just born with the eye open, like me. I've always had, my eye has always been open. So, and there's many others that have had their abilities since they were children. It's just.
I'll bring this out for everyone, because those of us who were old enough, you'll remember the scene in the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg, as all the spirits are trying to get to her because she can see them and hear them. Yes.
That was like the greatest confirmation movie for me of my entire existence. That's like my favorite movie of all time, because that was my reality, and nobody else around me had that reality.
See?
Yeah.
By the way, I think it's probably one of the greatest love stories of the 20th century. It was just
you have to take the love with you.
I mean, talk about the Righteous Brothers. I mean, who can forget the scene, folks? It's Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore.
Oh, and the clay of the earth. You see?
Yes. Well, that is sensual, darling. I mean, oh yeah.
You bet. This is life in action.
That is actually sex magic in action.
For reals.
It really is, folks. I know I have a series I'm doing on it, but if you go back and look at that scene, that is true sex magic in an intensity that, well, it carried over into the other side.
Well, it starts off with a spinning disc and a needle,
doesn't it?
Inserted on the and it starts to play music.
Yeah. Bend me, shape me any way you want. There we go, man. I mean, come on, folks. This is why you tune in. I mean,
that's a powerful mojo right there.
Come on, ladies in the chat room. You trying to tell me that isn't like one of the most intense scenes? Come on. I mean, it's anyway. But getting back to Whoopi Goldberg and what she played in that. And as I'm sitting here and thinking, where the one guy just had enough and he jumped into her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was like, hey, wait a minute,
That's what happened to my friend's grandma. I saw that happen too.
Really?
Oh my God, an Indian jumped in her. And the only way we knew it was an Indian, because when she walked through the room, there were candles lit. Her shadow had the Indian headdress, the feathers.
Far out.
And she never said a bad word, and she never drank alcohol. She was swearing and drinking whiskey. It was crazy. And we were like, I don't know, 12 years old or 10 years old. And we're like, the three of us were like going.
Yeah.
And then she just went to bed, and she woke up the next morning, and we told her, and she told us we were crazy.
Didn't remember any of it, did she?
She didn't remember nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Not a lick. Nope.
It gets into, what the theme that we were talking about today is gateway and portals. Mm-hmm. I know the downloads that I get are from an outside source. I mean, I get this. And I guess it was about a year or so ago when I was doing the research into when we started exploding the atom in the atmosphere. What we did not understand was that we were actually making tears in the space-time continuum. And they began to see that as well. That's why they went underground with the testing. And anyway, so it's been rumored that you have the Russian military, the US military, who knows, probably the Chinese as well, but that we have technology now that actually opens up what we would call a gateway or portal in the atmosphere. So I'll show everyone this picture. Do with it what you want as it goes. There we go. So there you are. And I'll just bring this up for you. Here's a missile test. It's being observed, but look, and people can say, it's Photoshop. Believe what you want. I just want to show you of what has been reported. They do this a lot of times at night, is what I understand.
It's so funny. It's like you can see space right behind it. When you look at it, it's like you can see stars. It's like you can see. It's a dimension back there.
It's a dimension. Thank you. It's not what's outside what we think is our outer space. This is a different dimension.
Literally, yeah. It's literally just a dimension.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Vibration is what keeps us separated one from the other. And the magnetic field is changing on the planet. The Schumann resonance is changing on the planet. It's like, get ready, guys. This might mean we're going to start blending dimensions. So fifth dimension might be like sitting with us currently, because that's all it takes. It's vibration. Boom.
They say that the Torah teaches that God, and not God, they don't believe in a single God. They believe gods. That's what Elohim is.
Yep.
That they actually came through a portal.
Would make sense, because it's the only way I think that space travel happens is when you're traveling through wormholes or portals.
Yep.
I think it's the only way it can be done successfully.
They said that the evidence of that is in the book of Ezekiel. And if you read it outside of a religious connotation, the man was dealing with an interdimensional portal.
Yeah.
He was talking to beings. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's get to your part of the world. In your part of the world, as I understand, through the Rainbow Valley, and we know the Superstition Mountains, and then there is the continued mountain range up there, that it has been said that there are portals, gateways that exist in the mountains, in those mountains.
Oh, yeah.
What say you?
There are.
Yeah.
Yes, there are.
So now, have you ever gone exploring out there?
Yeah, and I've been into some vortex points that, like, your compass, it just starts spinning and you get totally disoriented. You don't know where you're at. It's really a weird feeling.
So you really have this vertigo feeling, I think is what they call it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like you're off balance and you don't know what direction is what. It's really weird. It's a very strange feeling. The compasses will not go in one direction. They literally spin. You have no communication with any kind of devices. None. Cell phones, radios, walkie-talkies, CBs, none of it. All of them go flat.
And I've heard that many of them literally just lose their power. They just,
They do. They can zap out, or they just will not work. They just will not turn on, or they're just like freaking out, like on, but they're like freaking out. They will not work. Like the compass is just going.
So when I think about a gateway or a portal, let's see, Squeaky Toy says we have one in our house. It's very interesting, Squeaky Toy Records, that you mentioned that, because John brings that out as well, is that at the ranch, in the house, there is a freaking portal. Now, the thing that I didn't, and he brought this out and it's triggered, a portal works both ways. It's like a swinging kitchen door. I mean, if you can go through, that means something can come in.
Absolutely.
And they ain't so nice, apparently. I mean, he said he was sitting in his room, out in the living room, watching television. And he said all of a sudden he felt like something was, a white hot poker was on the back of his calf. He looked down and he could see the skin that was being burned as he watched it being pulled right down his calf. Didn't see anybody. What he learned later was that they were standing right there doing that. We can't see them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And like demons too, for whatever reason, if they scratch you, it burns.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but it's like freaking acid. It's weird. It hurts.
A lot of paranormal investigators.
Yeah, I've been scratched.
You have?
Oh God, yes.
Interesting.
Oh God, yes. And I've seen some pretty big ones on other people. And every single time too, you see the real ones that are the demonic marks, they have three. Every single time I've seen it that way. Three stuck.
Trina,
Three. Mm-hmm.
dear, what if we're and this is weird, but you know, it's coming in so much stronger. What if that's exactly what we are as a food source? Our emotions provide a smorgasbord to a life form that is beyond our comprehension.
That's why I think that they have all the soul traps in the matrix set up, because I don't think they can feed if they don't have us to feed on.
Can I
Yeah.
show you something? You just mentioned something. Let me just show you what I'm going to be sharing with the audience. So give me 1 second. I have to pull it up. So you can take over while I'm, while as the man is out there driving.
I really do think that that's what's going on. I mean, you look at all these contracts have been placed into, there's some type of ownership over us as a species, and that is well documented. When you put all the pieces together, there's really no other way to look at it.
Exactly.
So that what they think that we're food. It's just like, you know, we herd cattle. That's why they call us chattel. It's like something that's going on the same way. This is above dimension. The true,
I think it's happening to the animal kingdom as well.
oh, I do too. I do
Yeah.
too. I really do too. And I think it's happening to water. And oh, what do they say? The only sin is the Holy Spirit. And I think that's water.
One says the only sin is that when man found out what the afterlife is about.
Yeah, I was really, that one was interesting.
It wasn't that one. I'm going.
Yeah, I was like, because it is the ultimate sin for the rulers that no longer can keep you in the cage.
Yeah, because that
Yeah,
would be
greatest sin.
the greatest sin.
You got it, because
You
they
know?
just got their own freedom. No more suckers.
No
Yep.
more suckers. Anyway, we're
That's it. No more suckers.
no more suckers. This is a good book, folks. I just got it, and so we're going to be talking about the Matrix. And by the way, speaking of grids, I have this PDF. It's a grid. It kind of just explains the 3 different type of grids. There's a crystalline grid to the planet, which allows other dimension worlds, stars and planets in the galaxy, solar systems, and beyond. The interesting thing about this grid, I found it very interesting, is that it opens vortexes and dimensional doorways that connect to the inner Earth.
Yes.
Trina, there is something tomorrow. It's going to, like I said, all this week is dedicated to, I think, the biggest deception of the surface dwellers. We think that this is it. We think that this is the power. We think that this is the everything. Actually, it's hell, because it appears that there is something far more sophisticated than humans that live inside the earth.
Yes, yes, definitely. Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah. And it seems to be reptilian.
I think there's more than one.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think so too.
Yeah, I think that there's more than one. But yes, I do think the Agarthians, the reptilian, the blonde, blue-eyed, beautiful beings down there, I really think they are very advanced. I think they've been here a very, very long time. And I do think that they are reptilian.
I agree. I think there's, like you're right. They say the insectoids, you know, it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways. I thought this was interesting. I saw Karen, Queen of Quartz in. Hello, my dear. The pyramids, which are all over the world, not just Mexico and Egypt, hold a resonance of crystal light. Even structurally, pyramids are built of a granite which has quartz in it.
Yep.
Yep.
Remember the fire, the Trinity. All
yes.
access through the pyramids of light. I'm telling you, there's something to that big time.
I would agree. The light grid. Now, I happen to believe this as well. I mean,
I do too.
Yeah,
I all 3.
Yeah, I just happen to think that, again, people like Tesla, others, even Einstein knew that there was something. Light is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are talking and everyone in the chat room is watching because of fiber optics.
Yeah, and then you got to think of too, man, there's always that push-pull mechanism. So the magnetics and
Yes.
the shock of the electrical charges, that's the push and the pull. Those forces are just ever present in all too. So you've got light grids, magnetic grids, electrical grids, magnetic electrical grids, plasma grids, crystalline grids, solar
Solar
grids.
grids.
Yeah, it's like there are so many. Those are the weavings, the webs, the weavings of the matrix, the creatrix. Some of them are artificial, some of them are organic. But those are all of the webs that we are currently bound in.
And, when you look at Earth, Earth is in the prime position as what you would call a receiver from the sun.
Yes.
The sun is this endless energy that goes beyond what we understand. I mean, those who follow the solar winds, we know the KP index. You realize that there is enormous power out there, and if you know how to, number one, capture it, two, control it, and three, exploit it. Yeah. The last one here is portals and dimensions, and they bring up several areas that I thought was interesting. The Uluru in Australia, Mount Kailash, as we've talked about in Tibet, Machu Picchu in Peru, the Giza pyramids in Egypt, and here you are, Sedona in Arizona, Stonehenge in England.
Yes. And I think too that there's one they're not talking about down in the Grand Canyon. But the Sedona energies are off the hook. I've been in those vortexes sometimes where they're so strong, they can just knock you down, make you throw up. And oh yeah, I've seen all kinds of different energies. People get hit all different kinds of ways.
One of the things that you talked about, people getting sick to their stomach, it seems to be that is one of the first barrier fields that tells you that you're not ready.
Yeah, it's the higher sympathetic system telling you that you just short-circuited the energy system in the brain. So the higher sympathetics will absolutely shut down the vehicle or stop the behavior by making you go unconscious, making you vomit, making you get so dizzy you have to instantly sit down. The body will shut you down if it wants to.
We've talked about it here. The body has a spirit.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Mine thanks me all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, far out, dude. Can we do that again?
And it's so powerful. It's the whole as above, so below. These portals are definitely real. And the same thing is that we have portals inside of our body and being just like the planet. We are portals. We are stargates.
We generate a electrical signal.
It's not just that, we literally create portals and we can blow and transmute energy. Just like in this book, The Hands of Light.
Mm-hmm.
It shows, it's like we throw vortex, we throw portal, we move energy, we can gain access to past lives and all this information through these portals. That's what they literally are. They're just on a micro level, but you're literally working portals when you're working with chakras.
Interesting.
You're working with sexual energies. You're literally.
Well, I was going to say that, but yeah. I mean, you study it long enough and you begin to realize the portals, when we talk about openings, they're built around energy, frequency, harmonics.
Yes.
And the interesting thing about the human body and what we have this ability to do is in generating what I would call a sine wave between two energy beings.
Yeah, which produces sound.
Exactly. And it is that frequency and that buildup of that energy that if you understand and connect with it through the conscious mind, it actually literally is the creative force that you can create anything you want. Now, the natural byproduct of this is, because it's the most miraculous thing about our bodies, is that we generate new life.
Yes.
We're all a result of that.
Yes.
You could say each of us are the epitome of sex magic.
Yes. We're all product of replication.
Yeah, some people say, well, that wasn't expected. Isn't that how magic works?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it truly
yeah,
does.
yeah. Anyway, folks, you just got a free lesson on that one.
Yeah, it's one of the most powerful sources of alchemy. You're transmuting light into form.
Because we are light.
Yes, and we're turning into form as soon as we
Yeah,
enter the flesh. So
yeah,
you're literally turning light into form. You're helping
yeah.
the process of manifesting new life, through your form as the stargate. The female is the stargate, and the male is the spirit part. So you got the spirit and the mother meeting, creating the Christ, new life, new light, the sun.
And that's how it is. Apparently, there is something, the reason why we seek so much for what, excuse me, the afterlife is that because it's instinctive. Like the question becomes, okay, I can see the creating of a body, but how does the creation of a spirit take place?
Yeah, and whenever I go to that, it's like, I think, um, it might be an is thing. It is just like creation is. It's always has been, always will be. It's just a matter of where it was within the cosmic soup of creation. I think it's an is.
It may be very well be, Trina, because I meditated and think about it quite often. I mean, I know this. There's times when I'm in those quiet places that I know what this realm is,
Mhm.
and it's a realm of death.
Yeah.
Everything has to consume something else alive.
Yeah, but I figured out it was a system of entropy. I was like, what?
Very well put. I mean, it's spot on. And, you
Everything
know,
has to eat and it dies.
yes. And I have literally almost been at a point of tears because I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, as they say, pleasures that go beyond the mind, no matter how debauchery you want to become, and there is horrors that exceed the imagination.
There are horrors, but you know what, too, Wayne? There's cycles. And it's so funny because I can see, because I've asked God about this many times. I says, why would you let this even exist? And he
Yeah,
said, because it would create warrior earth angels, which would be beings that have had experience in some of the densest material matters and held true to their spirit and their soul and stayed in integrity and learned beautiful lessons of compassion. You can't witness death until you witness it. You can know of it, but nothing's real till you feel it. So we've been thrown into some really dark energies, and the creator said he was going to destroy it all, but he saw the potential of what would come from the spirit of the actual man itself, man being masculine, feminine, man, not hue of man, actual original man,
hmm,
man, yes. So this man code thing, he said, and then he showed me another way. It was like Beauty and the Beast. So if you can blend nature with spirit and not be overcome by the beast part of you, which is the body, the ego, all these strong, powerful forces that pretty much rule us. It was like, can you conquer all of that? So there was many lessons in it. And because they were like, well, we would have destroyed it, but we saw the potential. And apparently the ones of us that can make it through all of this hard, dense, um, it's battle the moment you get here, because you're on your take your time. Your death has started the minute you get in here. So yeah, it was like what you would learn from it would be profound, because death in its own self is a very powerful lesson to die.
I did one of my best videos on the birthright, and the fact that I contend that all I've studied and everything else is that we are born into the death realm.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a rite of passage, the rite of birthright passage that you have to go through, because the other end of this, I don't call it death. I think we died the minute we were born.
Yeah, I do too. It's just like Trisha in her book. She said that you had to have like 2 billion years of experience in the higher realms before you even get an opportunity to
Yeah.
come down into Earth.
Yeah.
I was like, that makes sense.
This is the living death here. And I'm being very serious. I'm
Harvard.
still writing my book, but the fact that, when I came to that epiphany, then it begins to make sense that
Yeah.
death, there cannot be any enemy in death, for death is a release.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And we've been taught to fear it. And that's
yeah,
to keep you caged. It's
it
literally
does.
everything is taught backwards to keep you in doubt of your own power and in forgetfulness of your true remembrance. It's all done on purpose to keep you in the cycles so they can use you for their food.
And that's what exactly, and this is when I believe you and I are the virus. We're spreading the virus now that begins to contaminate and spoil the milk.
Yeah.
Because imagine if they're feeding off of us the way that you go through emotional cycles, ups and downs, turnarounds, is that you're being manipulated.
Yes, unless you could stay in joy.
Exactly.
Yeah, feed off you when you're in the higher vibrations. They literally have no food.
I laugh at them and I just say,
Yeah.
well, you know what, guys,
Mhm.
have a cup of joy.
Yes. Yeah, and that's our hardest work is to keep our own balanced being, staying positive and staying in a positive vibration. It's like it's the hardest work, but it's the truest,
It
best
is.
work. It really is, because that's literally how we blow everything they've worked so hard to do.
They have.
Simply by being joy.
I kind of look at it like, Bill Murray in Ghostbusters, when he walked into the house, her apartment, and hit the
Mhm.
piano keys.
Yeah.
Drives him crazy.
Yeah.
Drives him nuts.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's a horrible idea, but, I go back to the book of King Og. And Og brought out a reality to me that I had not fully comprehended all the way through. That, oh man, if these giants, now we're finding giants with technology that exceeds our wildest abilities. Could
Wayne,
it be?
I saw myself with these massive giant beings, and literally they were in this cave, and we were getting healing. They were like healing water caves. And this one giant that came back, like he must have been gone in battle because we never thought we'd see him again. He was the most awesome being, and he was so smart and he was nice. But then the other giants that eat you. So there were two kinds, and I knew this.
Yeah.
And it was very strange, but I have memory of this. And I think this might have been like ancient Greece times. This is where all the Greek stuff comes from, because it's the togas and the big columns and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, these giants were huge.
Something's going on.
When I hugged him, like my arms, like my whole body would be in the size of his chest, and like my legs could only go like to here, and my arms could go up to here. I was like a little baby on his chest. Like a little baby, like an infant. That's how little I was, and I was a full-grown human.
So I come back to this equation now. So are there big spirits and small spirits when we pass over?
I think so. I saw big.
Oh, that sucks. I mean, can you imagine?
I saw that you can make yourself large, just like Alice in Wonderland. If you can imagine it, you can do it.
I've taken those pills and they do make you big.
Yes. Yes.
And I've drank that tea.
Yeah, because I can make myself
They just
bigger.
slow you down,
Yeah, and Lane, I've been able to see myself get bigger. I've literally seen myself to look down upon Earth. I've literally seen that. So I think you can do this.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many things that I think that people either just absolutely assume or don't want to talk about. about the afterlife or the after death. That's what I'm going to start calling it, because it's life after death.
Yes. And they don't want you to know about these realms, because when you do, you start to remember what you are.
I got to tell you what, and many times I've had to calm myself, because the more I gain knowledge and understand what's taking place, I got to be candid with you, Trina, I get pissed off.
Yeah.
And I have to
Don't do
continue
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm out there challenging them. I'm invoking these energies. They never manifest. I
No,
was
because
told
it's
that they
really,
will not. They're afraid. It's when you're in fear, they manifest. They'll feed off it. When you're pissed, and I call it a righteous indignation,
oh yeah.
the air clears.
Oh, it does.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's like if you get scared, it's like only let that last a second and then shift it into curiosity and protection and pissed off and knowing that you could destroy them.
You know what I tell them?
I don't know why we are so powerful, Wayne.
I don't know why we're afraid of it. I mean, I get
Well,
emails.
they want us to be afraid of it so they can
Yeah.
keep us as their servants. But I mean, we need to really figure out what is it about us that is so powerful, because there is a truth to what you're saying.
I've told them,
When you know what you are, they don't want no part of you.
Trina, I have said this, and I have told a number of them, when I get over there, I'm hunting you down.
And they know you can and you will.
Oh, I'll tell you. And right now there is an it's in here. It's literally in
your
here
gut.
where I can, yeah. And it's, I think that I've done this before
Yeah.
as a warrior. I mean, I'm coming in and fighting a war in a different way. I'm coming in with intellect.
Uh-huh. It's the most powerful because this is a mental construct.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, that's why I told you imagination is the strongest
It
tool.
does it. And I hate it. I'll share something with you in the audience. So I'm scanning just some news headlines, and I come across this story about a 19-year-old young woman.
Mhm.
They found her wrapped up in a rug that was in a U-Haul trailer. I don't know what happened there, but I made a connection spiritually, and I remember her last words. I heard this, and I don't even know who this girl is, but I heard it so distinctly inside of me. I heard her words, I don't want to die like this. And
Oh.
whatever he did to her, he took her life. But that was that story. And then that same day, that evening, I was reclining, and I felt something literally tug at my foot in between, where you have the fascious tendon coming down 3 times. And I said, that's enough of that. The next morning I woke up, that tendon was swollen.
Yeah. When they touch
And
you, it does something
it
to
does
our body.
something.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hobbling the whole day, and Lynn said, what's wrong? And I told her, and she looked at me and she said, well, it shouldn't be swollen. You haven't done anything to do that. And she said, but when you felt something touch you 3 times, she said, that's a little weird.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's when they actually manifest and touch you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's when 2 points of light come together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Creation is formed.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're not in the same dimensions. We're not supposed to be mingling. So I think there's a problem with that contact.
Very well stated, Trina. I like that. That makes sense.
I worry. Yeah, I worry about the people sexually involved with these astral beings, because I have a feeling there might be some physical consequences for that they have no idea, because it's dimensions. For whatever reason, for something in my knowing says there's something wrong with the energy mixing of those dimensional interactions, that there should be caution used with that.
Yeah. I mean, it becomes very obvious that they don't have that element that can only be extracted from a human soul that has these bodies. And again, I agree with what John.
My gut feeling, Wayne, is that it's taking their life and they don't know it.
Oh, very well said, Trina.
It's
Yeah.
taking their spark and they don't know it. It's feeding off of them. Like
Yeah.
deep, deep way. So with that, it's like,
Mm.
oh gosh, you guys be careful with that because they're stealing your source, your soul source star. They're stealing your light. That's what it feels like.
So let me just tell you what hit me.
What?
You see, over on the Steiger perspective, I cover it quite extensively, and not to the degree here, but so the studies are coming out now that the percentage of the population, particularly the younger generation between the millennials and the ones being born now, Generation Z, I think is what they call them.
Mhm.
There is a transmutation taking place where sexual robots that now have embedded AI are becoming literally companions. There are stories of men and women marrying their robots. And it's interesting because you see, I believe in what Einstein says in this first and second law of thermodynamics, that energy is neither created nor destroyed, but in a constant state of transition. When you begin to get a human being into that type of power, that type of energy with an artificial device, if you're
Well,
something,
this is the first reason they developed the sex toys for our robots first, because what do you think that they're going to need to fully animate this AI?
yes, thank you.
Need the orgasms of the human beings to be brought into the.
They're feeding off it.
They're storing the
Yeah,
orgone
yeah,
energies from the
yep,
human beings
yep.
to animate and give life to the beings.
Oh man,
Yeah.
there's a
From my
smell in here.
understanding, most of the beings that are going to inhabit these robots come from below. So they're going to not be so nice, but they're going to pretend to be nice.
They are going to pretend to be not. I got the smell of it's like a forest. It's interesting. It's a beautiful smell. So
Goddess. I just heard
yeah.
goddess energy.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, she's going, you're right now, dude. Tell him, tell him, tell him.
Love it. I love it.
If you're going to do the orgasm thing, folks, do it to your advantage, not to theirs.
Yeah, and give it to your brothers and sisters and the earth, and give it to the water, and give it to this environment that you're in. Flood it with love, because that's your love.
See, that's the thing. You start controlling your body and your creative center.
Yeah, give it to the stars.
Exactly. You start assigning something to your orgasm.
Yeah, give it to the ocean. Give it. Oh yeah.
Folks, this is, I wasn't even, I wasn't even going to mention this, Trina, but this is kind of the core to real sex magic. If you start assigning your orgasm, your intent, and it is the intensive intensity, isn't that intention?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. And
We're being respectful here. We're speaking in a, intellectual.
We're creators. This is how all life is brought forth. It's through this act, and that is powerful creation. We need no evidence. It's all around us. We all come from
It is. It is.
This is macro, micro. This is how it is done above. Not clear.
And the thing about it is that there is, in a certain way, if you look at the creative force, is that, I even take it into the Bible. If you take the story of Adam and Eve and you take the story of the 6-day people, the 6-day people were created. You see, this is the interesting thing. In Genesis 1:26, those people were never created of the earth. They never had the breath of life blown into them. They were already fully ascended beings that I believe came out of the result of an orgasmic thought.
I do too. And I don't think that they were flesh.
I don't believe they were either.
Yeah, they were light. And
Yep.
we were not supposed to be flesh. We were supposed to be the guardians of
Yep.
garden, basically, like fairies and spiritual.
I just can't find where those people went, Trina. I've searched and I searched because there's no evidence in the Bible. There's no evidence in the Epic of Gilgamesh where that story come from. But where did they go?
They're us.
I struggle so much with this because the golem that was made in Genesis 2:7 and 9, it occupied a energy shell. It had to have the energy cell that came from whoever was transferring that energy, and that's where we get the story. And the breath of life was blown into him. By the way, the breath of life was only blown into the male, not the female.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, now how can that be? Because think about it, that's the ultimate unbalance.
Yeah. Well, remember too, remember the original Adam, they put him to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first male golem was the second Adam, and they had to breathe the breath of life into the golem because the original was way too strong.
Well, the original never was put to sleep. Read it again in 126. It's an interesting thing. It says, and he made them both male and female. In
Right.
Genesis 2:7, we only have the male. And then the male is put to sleep and then extracted the DNA that brought forth the feminine. I contend it's the other way around. It was the female that was created first.
Yeah,
And, you know,
too.
I think out of her womb, man was forthcoming. Because you can only have it from the woman.
Yeah, that's what I would literally when I saw this, it was shown to me, okay, that the creator had an image of himself. And when he birthed that forth, the image was of man, but that man was androgynous and it could give birth because it had the womb and it had everything in it. It is everything. It was everything. And from the womb, the image looked more masculine, but it was both. And from that androgyny, that was where one, and then you see two.
Yeah, this is heavy stuff. People are. I'm watching some of the comments, and yeah.
Yeah, so I think before it all, we were androgynous, and then we got further separated down.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to continue to search for this.
I think they even tell us we're the number 5 right now because we're in.
Oh yeah, the 5th race.
I think we're the 5th. Yeah.
We may be the progeny of that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, this has been an hour that's gone by like. This has been a fun time. Yeah, Jenny, I'd agree with you. There was so much, I think, that the church had to do in perverting the whole sexual context of the human experience, because that's power that they want. They feed off of that.
Yes,
they do.
They do.
Yeah,
and all of the property they gain from it being us.
Oh, just yeah. There's a reason why celibacy is not recommended. Didn't come with the owner's manual. You read underneath there, no celibacy, and you're going, yeah, okay. I mean, you figure at one point in time, if you follow that type of thinking, eventually someone's going to end up with no humans.
That's right.
It's like, that's what happened to the giants. Like, oh man,
yeah.
the last female, the child.
That whole giant thing too. I will put anonymity between your seed and her seed. I wonder if that's a story about that in the Bible, because they were losing, the females weren't being born. So that means you can't reproduce if no females were coming forth. I wonder if that's what that is in the Bible.
It's a code. It really is.
That's what I keep hearing. And I think it's a giant code in the Bible. I'm like, that might be one of the giant codes.
The master magicians, the Magi's, is one of the things that I think the original Hebrews were masters at. They had to have been. You think about it. If Moses, which actually literally translate Magi, which is magician, he was taught the secret arts of the pharaohs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he actually taught the pharaohs. I think he was a high reptilian serpent being.
I mean, that dude was heavy, man. I mean,
think he was serpent. I really do. I think he was reptilian. There's so many pictures of him with horns on his head.
Yeah.
So that would be, I bet you. And but see, the reptilians can appear human.
Yeah. They're shapeshifters.
Yes, so they can appear human. But that's why I think many people would put horns on his head, because they could see underneath that he was truly a reptilian being.
There's so much we don't know.
So much. But we're starting to figure it out.
We're getting it. Well, Miss Trina, another hour has come and gone. And, so You want to say anything before we check out of here?
I just think it's awesome that we're finding evidence of portals. And remember, guys, as above, so below. The portals that we can see on this planet are an identical match to the ones we hold inside of our bodies.
Ooh, wait, I'm not going to step on that one. All right, folks, we will see you again next Tuesday at our normal time. Make sure you join us. And again, put on your calendar Friday night, 7 p.m. Mountain, which would be 9 Eastern, 6
Yep.
West Coast, right? Are you on West Coast time or on?
Yeah, I'm Arizona time. We never change.
Yeah. So what are you right now?
1 o'clock.
Oh, so you're on Denver time.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, folks. Much love to you all. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again. Tune in tomorrow, and we're going to figure this underground stuff out. All right.
Amazing.
Much love, everybody. Thank you. Trina, hold on.